Okay, does anyone else have any discussions on the individual things that were put in your packets? It was just for, to get some things going on any sound control regulations that the city had talked about, whether they were lax in those areas regardless of what came in. So this is from Independence, Missouri. I'm getting them to you as I get them in on the Missouri Municipal League site and the city clerk site. As those come in, then you all can get together and put one together if you feel like it. I'm just forwarding the information to you. The only other issue was a sample ordinance on payday loans that was just for your review also. It's not ready for any closing.
I'd like to make sure that that payday loan ordinance is ready for our next meeting.
I'd like to make sure that payday loan ordinance is ready for our next meeting.
Then you want to make a motion to take that to a work session on the payday loan?
Payday loan session, proposal to a work session.
Motion been made and seconded to take the payday loan ordinance to a work session. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carried.
May I ask a question?
Ma'am?
May I ask a question?
Yes, ma'am.
If the ordinances, the new ordinances that you're talking about, if that is passed eventually, will that be then go backwards and grandfather the lease agreement that's already been signed?
It doesn't. It starts from the day that something is passed. There's nothing down there. That's the same way with this noise ordinance. There's nothing down there to apply it to. That lease agreement, if it was passed, when was it, September? What was the date on it? It has nothing to do with the lease of the land. It's whatever is constructed down there. If nothing is constructed before anything is passed, then they have to go by the ordinances that are on effect and on the books at that time.
So the ordinance says that it deals with new things that are constructed, not that the ordinance is just sitting there, because obviously the citizens haven't seen
which ordinances you talking
the
about?
noise ordinance that you're talking
It's
about?
not an ordinance.
Well,
These
the
are
noise
just-
discussion.
That's an ongoing thing, and we're just starting to get all that together so that they can put together the best possible sound and noise regulations and ordinances that they can get together.
I guess my question is because of the Pure Pleasure incident where they had received a business license before the ordinance was made, this may be a legal question. The lease agreement has been signed before a noise ordinance has been made, then I wanted to make sure that it would indeed grandfather backwards.
No, and if you were familiar with the Pure Pleasure, they would have gotten a license anyway, and they could have gotten a license in Festus. It would have been where they would have gotten a license to do business at. You cannot permit or prevent them from coming into a town. If they wanted to go over to Festus, the zoned area for Festus for adult businesses is right across the highway from where they're located at now.
But what I guess I'm not being clear.
No, you're not.
And Mr. Sickle, maybe this is a question for you. But normally ordinances have to be put into place before a contract is done. Since the contract is already done and the ordinance is not in place, would it still be effective?
Yes, this has nothing to do with the lease or the, well, let me answer. This has nothing to do with the lease or the contract. This is a regulation on businesses that are put in, and since that business is not even there, when these are passed, and then if something goes in down there, or a new business goes in throughout town, they will have to comply with this. Dave, you know if this backs up since it's actually like under a nuisance ordinance that would apply to?
There are different ways the council can implement an ordinance such as this. One of them could provide, one way the council could do that would be for the ordinance to provide that non-conforming uses would have a year to come in compliance. Another way would be for it to say if the operation was, if the entity was not in operation at the time when it was passed, then it would be applicable to it. It'll be the council's pleasure as to how they want the ordinance to be worded.
Okay. Well, anyway, it's in the purely draft stages, and you all have, you know, you're at a good stage right now where as these come in, you can pick and choose the best of everything that's there and make a good example ordinance to go into effect.
Anyone else got anything with city business other than PPG property? If not, I will open up the floor, like I said earlier, for public discussion on the Pittsburgh property. Mr. Haney?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
Council. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, they can't. Try it.
Now?
Yes.
You can hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. My name is Richard Haney. I volunteered to speak tonight as a concerned citizen. My wife and I joined the Concerned Citizens for Crystal City because of that very fact. We are concerned. Some early letters to the leader editor called those opposing the smelter troublemakers. But what these letter writers had failed to recognize was they were just like us, concerned citizens, but with a different viewpoint. I thought having a different viewpoint was allowed in a democracy. And I guess we still have a democracy here in Crystal City, don't we?
Yes, sir.
Our democracy was started with just 3 words: we the people. Look out at this audience, Mr. Mayor. This is a gathering of we the people. In signing these secret agreements, did you think you would have the support of all of the people? When your secret became public and opposition began to be heard, did you not have second thoughts? Did you really think there were only 15 people opposing you, as previously mentioned in some of those letters to the editor? If this smelter was such a wonderful thing for our city, why all the secrecy? How did this confidentiality agreement benefit the city? It helped Mr. Kennedy because it prevented anyone else from competing with his offer. Wouldn't I like for my insurance agency not to have any competition? I'm sure you and the council have observed the no smelter signs around town, but I've yet to see any signs supporting the smelter. With the exception of 3 brave council members, are you, Mr. Mayor, and the rest of the council blind to the fact that maybe you need to stop, listen to the people, and stop this process? Request a study to see what would be the best use of the PPG property? Or do you want to continue on breaking the Sunshine Law, denying access to public documents, changing city ordinances and zoning laws to legitimize the smelter after you've already signed the contract? Why were we not told of the conveyor belt to run from the smelter east of Bradley's property, behind our homes on Mississippi Avenue, up to the high school, over to a river port to be built, circle around and back down to the smelter 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, exposing the elementary playground, the football stadium to noise and pollution from what is being transported? At the CCC News conference yesterday, as my wife and I listened to all this information being publicized, that's kind of a novelty here, I noticed a tear running down my wife's cheek as she realized what damage you were doing to our town. It's one thing for me to be a concerned citizen, but making my wife cry has now touched me personally, and I'm angry. From this moment on, I will use what energy I have to rally against what I believe to be the most disastrous decision ever made by a Crystal City mayor and council. Mr. Mayor, tear up this contract and listen to we the people. But if you continue this push to build a smelter, I suggest you and the council learn these words to later explain your actions to the people. Dui Buchai, Hindu Day Swomu. That's Chinese for, I'm sorry, big mistake.